You've been there sitting with your phone, staring at that unanswered text for the third hour, wondering if you said something wrong. Or maybe it's the endless swiping, the ghosting, the mixed signals that leave you feeling like modern dating is just one big unsolvable puzzle. Here's the truth, dating doesn't have to be this confusing or exhausting. What if I told you the answers you're looking for aren't in another self-help book or dating guru's advice, but in a philosophy that's been around for over 2,000 years? Stoicism, the ancient wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, holds the keys to cutting through the chaos of modern romance. Today, we're breaking down 30 Stoic principles that will help you navigate dating with clarity, confidence, and a whole lot less stress. Think of it as ancient wisdom meets your dating app inbox, practical, powerful, and surprisingly fun. Whether you're dealing with rejection, overthinking every message, or just tired of the games, these principles will help you take back control, one mindful step at a time. Ready to transform your dating life? Let's dive in. Now let's tackle the first principle, and it's a game changer when it comes to dating anxiety. So much of the stress we feel comes from fixating on things we can't control, like whether someone ghosts us, sends mixed signals, or takes forever to reply. Stoicism flips the script by reminding us to focus only on what's actually in our power, our effort, our intentions, and how we choose to react. Think about it. You can craft a thoughtful message, show up as your best self on a date, or express genuine interest, but you can't force someone to respond the way you want. That's their choice, not yours. Here's a practical example. Instead of obsessing over why someone left you on read, shift your energy to what you control, like writing messages that reflect your true personality, or deciding not to chase vague energy. When you pour your focus into your own actions, you take back your power. Anxiety shrinks, confidence grows, and suddenly, dating feels a lot less like a roller coaster. This isn't about being passive, it's about directing your energy where it actually matters. And that's the Stoic secret to staying grounded in the chaos of modern dating. Now let's move to the second principle, and it's one of the most liberating ideas Stoicism offers: Amor Fati, or love your fate. This isn't about pretending rejection or bad dates don't sting. It's about reframing those setbacks as fuel for growth. Think of it like this: every awkward moment or unanswered text isn't a dead end. It's a detour guiding you towards something better. Take Epictetus, one of Stoicism's great teachers. He was born into slavery and later exiled, yet he transformed those hardships into wisdom, saying, "Every difficulty in life presents us with an opportunity to turn inward and to invoke our own submerged inner resources." Imagine applying that to dating: a ghosting episode, a chance to practice detachment; a cringe-worthy date, a lesson in what you truly value. The Stoics didn't just endure misfortune, they embraced it as part of their training. Here's how you can put Amor Fati into action tonight. Grab your journal and try these prompts. What did this rejection teach me about my boundaries or desires? Or how did this bad date reveal a hidden strength like patience or humor? When you start seeing setbacks as feedback, not failure, dating becomes less about winning and more about evolving. Amor Fati doesn't erase the sting, it gives it meaning, and that's how you turn modern dating's chaos into your personal gym for resilience. Now let's shift gears to a principle that might sound counterintuitive at first: Premeditatio Malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This isn't about pessimism, it's about preparedness. Picture this: you're swiping on a dating app and your mind spirals into, what if the date's awkward? What if we have nothing to talk about? The Stoics would say, don't just worry, visualize it. Play out the worst-case scenario in your head, not to scare yourself, but to realize you can handle it. Imagine walking into a date that's painfully dull. Instead of panicking, you've already mentally rehearsed this moment. You know it's not the end of the world, just an hour of small talk. Maybe you even find humor in it. That's the power of Premeditatio Malorum. It strips away the fear of the unknown by making the worst feel familiar and manageable. The ancient Stoics used this to face everything from shipwrecks to political exile. Your version, a ghosting episode or a mismatched vibe. Here's the twist: modern dating culture thrives on overthinking. We obsess over perfect bios, witty openers, and flawless first impressions. But Stoic preparedness flips that script by anticipating minor discomforts, like a lukewarm conversation or a cancelled plan. You drain them of their power. Try this tonight. Jot down 3 bad date scenarios that scare you, then write how you'd respond with calmness. You'll soon see that the boogeyman of dating anxiety is far less terrifying when you shine a light on it. This practice isn't about expecting disaster. It's about realizing you're resilient enough to handle it, and that confidence, it's the antidote to swipe fatigue and first date jitters. Now let's take this idea one step further with the dichotomy of control, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy that cuts through dating chaos like a knife. Here's the simple truth: some things are in your power and some just aren't. Your dating profile, that's yours to craft with intention. Your photos, your bio, the energy you bring. But whether someone swipes right, replies to your message, or feels that elusive spark, that's entirely out of your hands. Think of it like gardening. You control planting the seeds, watering them, and giving them sunlight, but you can't force a flower to bloom on your timeline. Same with dating. Pouring energy into questions like, why didn't they like me? Or did I say something wrong? Is like yelling at a cloud to stop raining. The Stoics would urge you to redirect that mental bandwidth. Instead of agonizing over unanswered texts, focus on what you can shape, becoming the kind of person you'd want to date. Here's a practical exercise. Grab a sheet of paper and draw 2 columns. Label one controlled and the other uncontrolled. Under controlled, list things like your honesty, your effort to plan thoughtful dates, and how you treat others. Under uncontrolled, jot down matches, chemistry, or someone's past baggage. Whenever you feel frustration creeping in, revisit this list. It's a reality check that saves you from spinning your wheels on the wrong things. Modern dating bombards us with illusions of control, endless profile tweaks, game-playing tactics, decoding signs, but the dichotomy of control strips all that noise away. It's not about giving up, it's about focusing your agency where it actually matters. When you do, something funny happens. The uncontrollables lose their grip on your peace of mind. Up next, we'll tackle how Stoicism redefines dating success itself, because what if the goal isn't winning someone over, but staying true to yourself? That's where virtue comes in. Now let's shift gears and challenge one of modern dating's biggest traps: the idea that success is measured by outcomes. Likes, matches, second dates. We've been conditioned to treat these as trophies, proof we're winning at love. But Stoicism flips that script entirely. Virtue over outcomes means your worth isn't tied to someone else's response. It's about how you show up, honest, kind, and aligned with your principles, even if it doesn't work out. Marcus Aurelius put it bluntly: waste no more time arguing what a good person should be one. Imagine applying that to dating. Instead of obsessing over whether they'll text back, ask, did I communicate clearly? Did I respect their boundaries? That's the Stoic report card. Modern dating tells us to play it cool, hide our enthusiasm, or manipulate attraction. Virtue ethics calls BS. If you're upfront about wanting a relationship but they ghost you, that's not a failure, it's a filter. Here's the irony: when you stop chasing outcomes and start embodying integrity, you attract people who value the same. Think of it like a job interview. You wouldn't fake your resume to get hired, only to drown in a role that's wrong for you. Dating's no different. Acting with virtue, whether that's honesty about your intentions or walking away from mixed signals, saves you from relationships that would erode your self-respect. So next time you're tempted to game the system or mute your authenticity for a shot at winning, remember, The real victory is looking in the mirror and knowing you did the right thing. And that's something no ghosting, slow fade, or bad date can take from you. Coming up, we'll explore how imagining the worst-case scenario, yes, even in dating, can actually set you free. Negative visualization might sound bleak, but it's a game changer for emotional resilience. Here's how negative visualization transforms dating anxiety into freedom. Picture this: what if every match suddenly disappeared? All those likes, the flirty texts, the thrill of a new connection, gone. At first, it feels terrifying, but that's exactly the point. Stoics called this Premeditatio Malorum, or the premeditation of evils. By mentally rehearsing loss, you strip away dependency on external validation. Think of it like swiping culture's antidote. Dating apps thrive on dopamine hits, the ping of a match, the rush of a compliment. But when you visualize life without those perks, something shifts. You realize, I'm okay either way. That attention, nice to have, not need to have. This isn't pessimism, it's emotional armor. Ancient Stoics trained for exile, poverty, even death. Your version, imagining a month without matches and discovering you're still whole. Let's put this into practice. Try this 5-minute meditation. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Now imagine your dating profile vanishes. No more notifications, no dates lined up. Sit with that emptiness. Notice where fear arises. Maybe it whispers, what if I'm alone forever? Now counter it. I've been single before and found joy. My worth isn't rented by others' attention. When you open your eyes, you'll carry a quiet truth. Modern dating's chaos can't shake you. Contrast this with today's swipe frenzy, where self-esteem dangles on algorithmic whims. Negative visualization grounds you. It's not about rejecting love, it's about loving yourself enough to never fear its absence. Next up, we'll confront dating's ultimate perspective shifter, Memento Mori. How remembering life's shortness can silence petty games and amplify authenticity. Now let's shift to a principle that cuts through dating's noise like nothing else: Memento Mori, the Stoic practice of remembering our mortality. At first glance, it might seem intense to bring death into dating conversations, but that's where its power lies. Imagine asking yourself before every date, if this were my last conversation with this person, would I be playing games or showing up as my real self? Suddenly, those petty mind games, waiting hours to reply to seem busy, pretending to be cooler than you are, feel trivial. Seneca put it bluntly in his letters: you act like mortals in all you fear and like immortals in all you desire. We waste so much time posturing when we could be forging genuine connections. Think about the last time you overanalyzed a text thread or stressed over someone's vague Instagram story. Now contrast that with how you'd behave if you truly internalized that time is finite. Would you obsess over someone's lukewarm response, or would you invest that energy into people who light you up? This isn't about morbid fixation, it's about urgency. The Stoics used Memento Mori not to depress themselves, but to prioritize what mattered. In dating terms, that means dropping the performative act and embracing bold honesty. Telling someone you're interested instead of playing it cool, or walking away from mismatches without resentment. Seneca's letters overflow with reminders that life's length matters less than its depth. He wrote, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Apply that to modern dating. How many hours have you lost scrolling profiles out of boredom, or replaying conversations that didn't mean much? Memento Mori snaps us out of that fog. It's why the most stoic daters are often the most direct. They know time is too precious for mixed signals. So here's your challenge. Before your next date or dating app interaction, pause and silently remind yourself, this moment won't come again. Watch how it sharpens your focus. Do you really want to spend it with someone who makes you doubt your worth? Or would you rather risk vulnerability for something real? That's the gift of Memento Mori. It doesn't just change how you date, it changes how you live. Up next, we'll tackle how Stoics turn dating's toughest moments into growth because for them, the obstacle is always the way. Now let's turn obstacles into opportunities with Principle 8, the obstacle is the way. This Stoic mantra flips setbacks like bad dates or ghosting from frustrations into fuel for growth. Picture rejection as a gym for your character. Every awkward interaction, every unanswered text is just another rep strengthening your resilience. Ryan Holiday, who brought this ancient idea to modern audiences, puts it perfectly. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Think about that last cringe-worthy date where conversation stalled. Instead of spiraling into "I'm terrible at dating," a Stoic asks, "What did this teach me about my communication style? Did I stay true to my values?" Even ghosting, while painful, can reveal where you're outsourcing your self-worth. Here's the shift. Dating apps bombard us with metrics, matches, replies, streaks. But Stoics measure progress differently. Screenshot those awkward exchanges not as trophies of failure but as benchmarks. 6 months ago, a vague response might have ruined your week. Now you laugh, reflect, and move on. That's resilience in action. Consider the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who ruled during plagues and wars. His journal doesn't complain about unfairness, it asks, what's the virtue this challenge demands? Apply that to dating. A bad date demands humor, ghosting demands detachment, mixed signals demand clarity. Each one is a chance to practice Stoicism in real time. So next time a date bombs or someone vanishes, pause. Instead of "why me?" try "what now?" Maybe it's refining your profile or simply valuing your peace over chasing closure. The obstacle isn't blocking your path, it's shaping it. And that mindset doesn't just transform your dating life, it prepares you for life's bigger hurdles. Coming up, we'll explore how Stoics use journaling to turn dating chaos into clarity, because as Marcus knew, the unexamined date isn't worth having. Now let's turn the page to Principle 9, journaling for clarity. If Marcus Aurelius had a dating app, his journal would have been his secret weapon. Instead of swiping left on self-awareness, he'd sit down each night and ask himself the hard questions. And that's exactly what we're going to adapt for modern dating. Think of your journal as a lab where you dissect dates without drama. After an interaction, instead of replaying it in your head on loop, grab a notebook and answer 3 Stoic questions. First, did I act aligned with my values today? Maybe you bit your tongue when your date made a questionable joke. Was that patience or people-pleasing? Second, what could I control and where did I waste energy? Obsessing over why they took hours to reply falls in the second category. Third, what's one thing this taught me about what I truly want? That awkward silence might reveal you need deeper conversations, not just good lighting. Here's where it gets practical. Imagine 2 journal entries side by side. The impulsive response to breadcrumbing those sporadic, low-effort messages reads, "Why won't they just text back properly? I hate this hot and cold nonsense." The Stoic version, their inconsistency reflects their priorities, not my worth. I choose to invest in connections with mutual enthusiasm. Spot the difference. One fuels frustration, the other fosters freedom. Marcus didn't journal to vent, he wrote to uncover patterns. Try this template after your next date. Under facts, jot only what happened, no interpretations. They cancelled last minute, stays neutral. Under feelings, acknowledge emotions without letting them hijack the narrative. And under future action, decide one small step. Maybe it's unmatching after 3 flaky replies or trying a new app that aligns with your seriousness. The magic happens when you review these entries monthly. You'll see growth where before you saw only ghosts. That time you didn't double text progress. The moment you walked away from a situationship that didn't serve you, victory. Journaling transforms dating from a series of random events into a curriculum for your character. Next up, we'll tackle how Stoics classify likes, matches, and sparks not as essentials, but as preferred indifference. because sometimes the most powerful move isn't swiping right but stepping back. Now let's shift our focus to Principle 10, indifference to indifference. The Stoics had a brilliant way of categorizing things in life. Some matter deeply, while others are simply nice to have but don't define your happiness. Matches, likes, and that elusive spark, they fall into the second category. Think of them as the icing on the cake, pleasant, but not the substance of a fulfilling connection. Modern dating, though, has turned these indifferents into obsessions. We fixate on match counts, agonize over reply times, and treat chemistry like it's the only measure of potential. But here's the Stoic twist. While these things might be preferred, they're not essential. Your worth isn't tied to how many people swipe right or how quickly they text back. Real compatibility runs deeper than metrics, so how do you spot the difference? Start by asking yourself a few key questions. First, do our values align? Shared principles outlast fleeting excitement. Second, does this person bring out the best in me? A strong connection should feel uplifting, not draining. Third, am I enjoying the process or just chasing validation? If you're more focused on winning the game than building something meaningful, it's time to recalibrate. The Stoics called these preferred indifference because while they're nice to have, their absence doesn't ruin your peace. Imagine two daters. One refreshes their app hourly, stressed over unmatched conversations, while the other engages with curiosity but doesn't let outcomes dictate their mood. Who's freer? Who's more likely to attract genuine connections? This principle isn't about dismissing attraction or chemistry. It's about refusing to let them dominate your emotional landscape. When you stop treating likes and sparks as life or death, you create space for what truly matters, relationships rooted in mutual respect and growth. Up next, we'll explore how Stoicism frames dating as a shared human experience, not a transactional marketplace. Because at its core, connection is about seeing each other's humanity, not just profiles. Now let's turn to Principle 11, sympatheia, or interconnectedness. The Stoics believed we're all part of a shared web of humanity, and dating is no exception. It's easy to fall into the trap of treating romance like a marketplace, swiping, comparing, and judging as if people were products on a shelf. But what if we shifted that perspective? What if, instead of seeing dates as transactions, we saw them as fellow humans navigating the same uncertainties we are? Take a viral Reddit thread where thousands confessed their deepest dating fears. One person wrote, "I'm terrified of being boring." Another admitted, "I worry no one will ever truly see me." The raw honesty in those comments reveals something profound. Beneath the profiles and small talk, everyone's wrestling with similar insecurities. That's sympatheia in action, recognizing that the person across the table isn't just a match, but someone who, like you, hopes to be understood and valued. So how do we bring this principle into modern dating? Start by practicing empathy before judgment. When someone ghosts or sends a lukewarm reply, instead of defaulting to "they're rude," consider, maybe they're overwhelmed or doubting themselves too. This doesn't excuse poor behavior, but it does remind us that others' actions aren't always about us. Another way is to share your own vulnerabilities. Stoicism isn't about being emotionally detached, it's about courageously engaging with the world. Admitting, "dates make me nervous," or "I'm still figuring out what I want," can dissolve the illusion that everyone else has it all figured out. Suddenly, the dynamic shifts from performance to partnership. Sympatheia also means rejecting the us versus them mindset. Ever heard someone say, "all men are flakes," or "women only want attention"? Those generalizations strip away individuality. The Stoics would challenge us to see each person as unique, shaped by their own struggles and stories. When we approach dating with this mindset, something remarkable happens. The pressure to impress fades, and in its place we find curiosity and connection. Because at its core, dating isn't about winning or losing. It's about two people stepping into the messy, beautiful work of understanding each other. Next up, we'll tackle how Stoicism trains us to pause before reacting to those all-too-common dating triggers. Because how we respond to mixed signals or slow replies says everything about our emotional resilience. Now let's explore Principle 12, Disciplined Assent. In the heat of modern dating, it's easy to spiral when someone takes hours to reply or sends a vague message. Your mind races, "They're ignoring me. I said something wrong. This is doomed." The Stoics called this unchecked mental chatter unruly impressions, and their solution was disciplined assent, the practice of pausing before accepting a thought as truth. Epictetus, the former slave-turned-philosopher, put it bluntly, "It's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Imagine your date cancels last minute. Your first judgment might be, they're not interested, but disciplined assent asks, is that the only possible explanation? Could they be sick, overwhelmed at work, or simply bad at planning?" This isn't about making excuses for others, it's about freeing yourself from knee-jerk reactions that amplify stress. Here's how to apply this ancient wisdom with a modern twist, inspired by cognitive behavioral therapy. When a triggering thought arises like, "They hate me," interrupt it with a Stoic question. What evidence do I have for this? Often, you'll realize it's based on assumptions, not facts. Then reframe, "I don't know their reasons and I choose not to torture myself guessing." Another technique is the view from above, a Stoic meditation where you zoom out mentally. Picture yourself from a satellite's perspective. That unanswered text is one tiny blip in your vast life. Does it truly deserve the energy you're giving it? This shift doesn't numb your emotions, it creates space to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. Practice this with small irritations first. If a match takes a day to reply, notice the urge to overanalyze, then consciously delay your response. Over time, you'll rewire the habit of catastrophizing. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Disciplined assent turns dating's uncertainties into a gym for emotional resilience. Instead of being hijacked by every mixed signal, you become the calm observer, curious, adaptable, and unshaken. Next, we'll dive into a principle that flips discomfort from something to avoid into a tool for growth. Because sometimes the best way to find confidence in dating is to willingly step into the awkwardness. Now let's shift gears to Principle 13, Voluntary Discomfort. This might sound counterintuitive in a world where dating apps promise endless convenience, but the Stoics knew something we often forget. Growth happens outside our comfort zones. Musonius Rufus, the Stoic teacher who believed philosophy wasn't just for lectures but for lived experience, put it plainly, hardship isn't just inevitable, it's necessary. He argued that avoiding discomfort weakens us while leaning into it builds resilience. So how does this apply to modern dating? Start with small but deliberate challenges. Try deleting your dating apps for a week, not as punishment but as an experiment. Notice the urge to swipe, the fear of missing out, and sit with that discomfort. You'll quickly see how much of your dating behavior is driven by habit, not intention. Or take the opposite approach, initiate a conversation you'd normally avoid. Ask someone out in person instead of hiding behind a screen, or have that awkward, "What are we?" talk you've been putting off. The goal isn't to make dating miserable, it's to prove to yourself that discomfort won't break you. Think of it like strength training for your emotional muscles. Every time you willingly step into unease, you reinforce a Stoic truth. You're more capable than your anxiety tells you. Musonius Rufus even practiced what he preached. Despite being exiled multiple times, he turned hardship into opportunity, teaching philosophy in the open air because he refused to let circumstances dictate his purpose. Apply that same mindset when a date goes poorly or a conversation feels stiff. Instead of retreating, ask, "What can I learn here? Here's a challenge to try this week." do one thing in your dating life that scares you slightly. Send a message without over-editing it, go on a date with someone outside your usual type, or spend a weekend offline without checking your matches. The discomfort will pass, but the confidence you gain from facing it, that sticks around. Up next, we'll explore how adopting the right role models can reshape your dating mindset. Because sometimes the quickest way to change your behavior is to ask, what would a Stoic do? Now let's turn our attention to Principle 14, role models. One of the most powerful ways to reshape your dating mindset is by asking yourself a simple question. What would a Stoic do? The Stoics understood that behavior follows belief, and belief is often shaped by the examples we choose to emulate. That's why they studied the lives of virtuous figures, not just their words. Take Cato the Younger, a Roman senator whose integrity was legendary. Even in love, he refused to compromise his principles. When his wife was suspected of infidelity, he didn't lash out or humiliate her. He divorced her with dignity, then later remarried her when the rumors proved false. His actions weren't driven by ego or revenge, but by a commitment to fairness and self-respect. That's the essence of a Stoic dater, someone who values character over drama. But you don't need to look only to ancient history. Think of modern figures known for handling relationships with grace, like actor Keanu Reeves, who's praised for his kindness and emotional maturity, even after personal losses. Or consider the quiet strength of someone like Michelle Obama, who speaks openly about partnership without sacrificing self-worth. These are people who embody Stoic ideals without preaching them. Here's a practical exercise. Create your own WWSD guide. What would a Stoic do? Next time you're tempted to send a passive-aggressive text or stalk an ex's social media, pause and imagine how your role model would handle it. Would they obsess over someone who ghosted them, or would they redirect that energy into self-improvement? Would they play mind games to seem aloof, or would they communicate honestly? The key isn't perfection, it's progress. You won't always get it right, but by consciously adopting a Stoic dater persona, you'll start making choices that align with your values rather than your fears. And over time, those small decisions add up. Coming up next, we'll explore how expanding your social circle can lead to more meaningful connections. Because Stoicism isn't just about who you date, but how you show up in the world. Now let's shift our focus to Principle 15, Circle of Influence. The Stoics knew that where you spend your time shapes who you become, and that includes your dating life. Instead of relying solely on apps where connections often feel transactional, consider this. The most meaningful relationships often grow from shared values and experiences. That's why investing in communities, whether through hobbies, volunteering, or even local meetups, can be a game changer. Think about it. When you meet someone through a friend or a shared passion, there's already a layer of trust and common ground. You're not just swiping based on a curated profile, you're interacting in real life where authenticity shines. Research backs this up. Studies show that relationships formed through mutual friends or shared social circles tend to last longer and have higher satisfaction rates. Why? Because these connections are built on more than just physical attraction or clever bios. They're rooted in real-world compatibility. Here's how to apply this Stoic principle. First, audit your social energy. Are you pouring hours into apps with little return? Or are you nurturing friendships and activities that light you up? Next, seek out spaces where your values are reflected. Love philosophy, join a Stoicism discussion group. Passionate about hiking, find a local trail club. These environments naturally attract people who share your interests, making dating feel less like a chore and more like an organic part of your life. The Stoic lesson here is simple. Focus on what you can influence, your actions, your choices, your community, rather than obsessing over outcomes you can't control, like who swipes right. By expanding your circle of influence, you're not just increasing your chances of meeting someone meaningful, you're also building a richer, more fulfilling life along the way. Coming up next, we'll tackle a principle that cuts through the noise of modern dating ego, because true strength isn't about playing games, it's about owning your story. Now let's move into something raw and real. Principle 16, ego death. Modern dating often feels like a performance where we're told to hide our feelings, play it cool, or even manipulate outcomes to win. But Stoicism flips that script. True strength isn't about armor, it's about the courage to drop the act. Think about the last time you pretended not to care when you were hurt, maybe after a ghosting or a lukewarm reply. That's ego at work. The Stoics called this out centuries ago. Humility to them wasn't weakness, it was clarity. It meant admitting, "This stings," instead of masking it with indifference or anger. Contrast that with modern red pill tactics where vulnerability is seen as a flaw. Stoicism asks, what's more powerful, a facade that keeps you lonely or honesty that fosters real connection? Here's a personal example. Years ago, I went on a date that felt electric until they vanished. My ego screamed, "Play it cool, don't text," but Stoic practice reminded me, you control your actions, not their response. So I sent a simple, honest message. "Hey, I enjoyed our time and felt a connection. If that's not mutual, no hard feelings, but I'd appreciate clarity." The reply, an apology and respect for my candor. Even if it hadn't worked out, I'd have kept my integrity intact. The lesson, ego death in dating means trading games for groundedness. It's saying, "I'm hurt," instead of pretending you're unfazed. It's asking for what you need without shame. And here's the paradox, that vulnerability often attracts the right people, the ones who value authenticity over posturing. Up next, we'll explore how staying present, not lost in what-ifs, can transform your dating experience, because the moment you're in, that's where the magic happens. Let's shift gears and talk about something that trips up so many of us in dating: getting lost in the what-ifs instead of the what-is. Principle 17, present moment focus, is about cutting through the noise of future faking and learning to savor the connection right in front of you. Modern dating is full of projections. You meet someone and within minutes your brain starts drafting a screenplay. Could this be my person? What if they're the one? Where is this going? The Stoics would call this a distraction. Not because dreaming is bad, but because it pulls you out of the only moment you actually control, the present. Future faking, whether it's your own mind racing ahead or someone else dangling vague promises, robs you of the chance to truly experience the person sitting across from you. Here's the Stoic fix. Before your next date, try this grounding exercise. Take 3 deep breaths and silently name 3 things you notice around you: the texture of your drink, the hum of conversation, the way the light hits the table. This isn't just mindfulness fluff, it's a deliberate practice borrowed from Stoic training. By anchoring yourself in the sensory present, you short-circuit the anxiety spiral of what if and create space for genuine connection. Think about the best dates you've had. Chances are they were the ones where you weren't mentally rehearsing your next text or analyzing their every word for hidden meaning. You were just there, fully. That's the magic Stoics understood. The present moment is where chemistry lives, where laughter happens, where you actually learn whether someone aligns with your values, not in the hypothetical future you're scripting in your head. So next time you catch yourself future tripping, pause, remind yourself, this is the only moment I'm guaranteed. Whether it leads to love or just a great story, savoring the now ensures you won't miss the gift of the experience itself. And speaking of experiences, our next principle tackles another modern dating trap, the rush to force a spark, because sometimes the best connections are the slow burns. Now let's tackle a dating myth that's been sold to us like bad advice, the idea that love has to hit like lightning or it's not real. Principle 18, detachment from results, is about letting go of the pressure to manufacture instant chemistry and trusting the slower, deeper connections that build over time. Think about how we've been conditioned. Swipe culture tells us attraction should be immediate: sparks, butterflies, that addictive dopamine rush. But here's what the Stoics knew: real connection isn't always fireworks. Sometimes it's the quiet ember that glows brighter the longer you tend to it. Take arranged marriages, for example. Studies show couples in these unions often report love deepening significantly over years, not because of some magical first date spark, but because they committed to learning each other without the distraction of chasing fleeting chemistry. This isn't about settling, it's about recognizing that forcing a spark can blind you to something more meaningful. Ever been on a date where the conversation was easy but there weren't instant butterflies? The Stoic approach: give it space, detach from the need for immediate intensity, and ask better questions. Do I respect this person? Do we share values? Is there curiosity here? Those are the ingredients for lasting connection, not just the shaky excitement of novelty. Try this reframe next time you're doubting a slow burn. Imagine your ideal relationship 5 years from now. Is it built on the memory of a first date adrenaline rush, or on trust, shared laughter, and mutual growth? The Stoics would argue it's the latter. So breathe, release the timeline, and let connections unfold at their own pace. And speaking of pacing, our next principle dives into a dating habit that's anything but Stoic: ghosting. Because true courage isn't just about how you connect, but how you disconnect. Now let's shift to a principle that cuts through one of modern dating's most cowardly habits: ghosting. Principle 19, truth over comfort, challenges us to choose uncomfortable honesty over the easy silence of avoidance. The Stoics prized courage above all, and that includes the courage to speak truth even when it's awkward. Ghosting might feel like the path of least resistance, but here's the irony: it actually takes more mental energy to dodge someone than to simply say, "I don't think we're a match." Avoidance contradicts Stoic virtue because it's rooted in fear, a fear of confrontation, fear of being the bad guy, or worse, fear of someone else's emotional reaction. But remember what Epictetus taught: it's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters. By ghosting, you're not just denying the other person clarity, you're denying yourself the opportunity to act with integrity. So how do you decline a second date the Stoic way? Start by stripping away the excuses. "No, I'm busy with work," or "let's circle back later." Polite honesty is kinder than vague fiction. Try something like, "I really enjoyed our conversation, but I didn't feel the connection I'm looking for. Wishing you all the best." If they press for reasons, resist the urge to over-explain or soften the blow with false hope. A Stoic response stays firm yet compassionate. You're not responsible for managing their disappointment, only for delivering your truth with respect. Think of it this way: every time you choose honesty over ghosting, you're not just practicing courage, you're treating others how you'd want to be treated. And that's a dating principle as old as philosophy itself. Up next, we'll flip the script from what we avoid to what we embrace, because gratitude might just be the secret weapon your dating life has been missing. Now let's turn our attention to something that might surprise you: the power of gratitude in dating. Principle 20, gratitude practices, flips the script from focusing on what's lacking to celebrating the small wins. Think about it. How often do you walk away from a date fixated on what didn't happen instead of what did? Maybe there wasn't a spark, but you had a great conversation or learned something new. The Stoics, especially Seneca, knew this well. He ended each day by writing down 3 things he was grateful for, a practice we can steal for modern dating. Here's how it works. Before bed, take 2 minutes to jot down 3 positive moments from your dating life that day. It could be as simple as matching with someone who shares your love of obscure philosophy, having a laugh over coffee, or even just feeling proud of how you handled rejection with grace. This isn't about pretending everything's perfect, it's about training your brain to spot the good alongside the challenges. Seneca called these gratitude letters, and science backs him up. Studies show this habit rewires your brain to focus on abundance, not scarcity, which is a game changer when dating starts to feel like a grind. And here's the Stoic twist: gratitude isn't just for the wins. Try including one thing that didn't go your way but taught you something. Got ghosted, maybe you're grateful for the clarity it brought. Bad date, it reinforced what you don't want. This balances appreciation with growth, keeping you grounded in reality while nurturing resilience. So tonight, put Seneca's pen to paper. You'll start noticing more joy in the journey, and who knows? That shift might just be the thing that changes your dating luck. Coming up next, we tackle a fiery emotion that trips up even the most level-headed daters: anger. Because let's face it, getting stood up doesn't exactly bring out our inner zen. Now let's talk about something we've all felt but rarely handle well: dating rage. Principle 21, anger management, is where Stoicism shines brightest, especially when emotions run high. Picture this: you're dressed up, excited, and then radio silence. They stood you up, your blood boils, but here's the thing: anger, as Seneca wrote in his famous essay on anger, is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. It clouds judgment, fuels pettiness, and worst of all, it pushes away the kind of mature connections you actually want. So what's the Stoic alternative? First, pause before firing off that angry text or spiraling into a rant. Ask yourself, will this improve the situation? Spoiler, it won't. Instead, channel Seneca's advice: respond with quiet dignity. For example, if someone ghosts you, a Stoic might simply delete their number and think their loss rather than lashing out. This isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about choosing actions that align with your self-respect. Now let's role-play two scenarios. Venting mode: they're so rude, I'm never dating again. Stoic mode: this says more about them than me. I'll focus on people who value my time. See the difference? One keeps you stuck in frustration, the other frees you to move forward. And here's the secret bonus: calmness is magnetic. When you handle disappointment with grace, you signal emotional maturity, a trait that attracts healthier partners. Seneca called anger temporary madness, and modern science agrees it hijacks rational thinking. So next time dating feels unfair, remember, the real power lies not in reacting, but in redirecting that energy toward what you control. Your peace of mind is worth far more than a moment of rage. Up next, we'll explore how Stoicism helps you ditch the victim mindset and take ownership of your dating life. Because blaming the world won't get you the love you deserve. Now let's shift gears to something that can completely transform how you approach dating, taking full ownership of your experiences. Principle 22, self-ownership, is about rejecting the victim mindset that so many of us fall into after a few bad dates. You've heard it before, maybe even said it yourself: all men are trash or women just play games. But here's the hard truth Stoicism teaches us: blaming an entire gender or the dating world at large doesn't solve anything, it just keeps you stuck. Epictetus, in his Enchiridion, described the mind as an inner citadel, a fortress only you control. No one else can dictate your worth or happiness unless you let them. So instead of pointing fingers, ask yourself, what patterns am I repeating? Maybe you ignore red flags because you're lonely, or you chase emotionally unavailable people because it feels familiar. Recognizing these habits is the first step to breaking them. Here's the empowering part: when you take accountability, you reclaim your power. For example, if you keep attracting partners who don't commit, a Stoic wouldn't rant about commitment-phobic people. They'd reflect, am I too quick to ignore mismatched values? This isn't about self-blame, it's about self-awareness. Every dating failure becomes data, not drama. Think of it like editing your own story. Instead of "they always hurt me," try "I'm learning to choose better." That subtle shift changes everything, because when you own your role in the patterns, you can finally change them. And that's how you build a dating life that reflects the respect you have for yourself. Coming up, we'll dive into how simplifying your approach to dating Stoic style can cut through the noise and help you find what really matters, because less clutter means more clarity in love. Now let's strip away the unnecessary and get to the heart of what really matters in dating. Principle 23, minimalist dating, is all about cutting through the noise of modern dating profiles and focusing on what's essential. Think about it. How much time do we waste trying to craft the perfect bio or curate photos that make us look adventurous, witty, or effortlessly cool? Stoicism teaches us that simplicity isn't just stylish, it's strategic. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. Apply that to your dating profile." Instead of stuffing it with travel pics or generic hobbies to impress, ask yourself, what values do I truly stand for? A minimalist profile isn't empty, it's intentional. For example, swap "I love hiking, tacos, and sunsets," which could describe anyone, for something like "I prioritize honesty and deep conversations over small talk." See the difference? One is a persona, the other is a reflection of your core. Let's do a quick before and after. Before, 6'2", finance bro who loves CrossFit and has been to 30 countries. After, looking for someone who values growth and authenticity. Let's skip the games and get real. The first version might get more likes, but the second attracts the right kind of attention. Stoic simplicity isn't about being boring, it's about being clear. When you strip away the fluff, you save energy and attract people aligned with who you actually are. This principle also extends to how you engage. Ever sent a flurry of messages trying to keep someone interested? A Stoic approach would be to match their effort, not their chaos. Minimalism in dating means fewer mind games, less overthinking, and more space for genuine connection. Up next, we'll explore how imagining the ideal Stoic dater can elevate your own behavior, because sometimes asking "what would a sage do?" is the best filter for modern dating confusion. Now let's step into the shoes of someone who's mastered the art of Stoic dating. Principle 24, contemplation of the sage, invites you to ask one powerful question before every dating decision. What would the ideal Stoic do? Picture this person calm, intentional, unshaken by petty drama. They don't waste hours scrolling an ex's Instagram or crafting the perfect passive-aggressive text. Why? Because a sage understands that dignity isn't just a virtue, it's a filter for nonsense. Think of this as your mental upgrade. Before reacting to a dating hiccup, say, a sudden ghosting or a vague message, pause and channel that Stoic role model. Would they spiral into overanalysis, or would they focus on what they control? Epictetus put it bluntly, it's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters. Apply that here. Stalking someone's social media, that's a reaction. Choosing to move forward with self-respect, that's wisdom. To make this practical, let's create a Stoic dating manifesto, a quick checklist to keep your actions aligned. 1. Communicate clearly without manipulation. 2. Accept rejection with grace, no deleting matches in rage. 3. Invest energy only in connections that reciprocate effort. 4. Never compromise your values for attention. And 5. Remember that silence speaks louder than desperate double texts. Print this, screenshot it, tattoo it on your forearm, whatever helps you live it. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every time you choose the sage path over impulsive dating habits, you're not just avoiding chaos, you're building a reputation as someone who knows their worth. And that's the kind of energy that attracts the right people. Coming up, we'll tackle a truth modern dating often ignores, that relationships, like seasons, have natural cycles. Because sometimes the most Stoic move isn't holding on, it's letting go with peace. Now let's shift our focus to something modern dating rarely prepares us for: the natural ebb and flow of relationships. Principle 25, acceptance of impermanence, reminds us that not every connection is meant to last forever, and that's okay. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What happens to everyone has always happened and will always happen." In other words, beginnings and endings are part of life's rhythm, not personal failures. Think about how we label relationships today. If something doesn't work out, we call it a failed situationship or a waste of time. But Stoicism flips that script. Instead of clinging to what's over or forcing what's not meant to be, the Stoic approach is to appreciate the experience for what it was, a chapter, not the whole story. This isn't about indifference, it's about recognizing that impermanence is baked into the fabric of life. Compare this to modern dating's obsession with forever. We rush to define things, to lock them down, to avoid the discomfort of uncertainty. But the Stoic sage understands that some relationships are like seasons. They serve their purpose, then naturally transition. A summer fling teaches you joy. A winter romance shows you resilience. Neither needs to be stretched beyond its time to have value. So how do you practice this? First, reframe your vocabulary. Stop saying failed and start saying completed. Second, when a connection ends, ask yourself, what did this reveal about me? What did I learn? Third, embrace the Stoic art of non-attachment, not by shutting down emotionally, but by holding space for gratitude and growth. This principle isn't a free pass to avoid commitment. It's a tool to navigate endings with clarity, not chaos, because when you stop fearing impermanence, you start dating with a lighter heart, open to what's here now and at peace with what's no longer. Next, we'll explore how vulnerability, often seen as weakness in dating, is actually your greatest strength when wielded with Stoic courage. Now let's talk about a principle that turns modern dating advice on its head. Principle 26, courageous vulnerability. Society often tells us to play it cool, to hide our feelings, to avoid looking needy. But Stoicism teaches us the opposite. True strength isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about having the courage to show up as you are, even when it feels risky. Think about it. When you suppress your emotions to appear chill, you're not being strong. You're letting fear dictate your actions. The Stoics believed courage means facing discomfort head-on. In dating, that means being honest about your feelings, even if the other person might not reciprocate. Research backs this up. Studies show that emotional risk-taking, like expressing genuine interest or admitting you're nervous, actually deepens intimacy. It creates trust and invites the other person to be real too. Now contrast this with the playing hard to get mindset. Sure, it might spark short-term chase, but it's built on games, not genuine connection. The Stoic approach: drop the act. If you like someone, say so. If you're hurt, name it. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the ultimate power move because it filters out people who aren't ready for depth and attracts those who are. Here's how to practice this. First, reframe vulnerability as a litmus test. If someone judges you for being authentic, they're not your match. Second, start small. Share a personal story on a date instead of sticking to small talk. Third, remind yourself of Stoic courage. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." Reacting with honesty, even when it's scary, is how you build relationships that last. Next, we'll explore how Stoicism redefines love itself, not as a fleeting emotion, but as a deliberate choice to wish good for another. Now let's shift gears and talk about love, but not the kind you see in fairy tales. Principle 27, pragmatic love, strips away the Hollywood glitter and gets real about what love actually means in Stoicism. Forget butterflies and grand gestures. The Stoics defined love as wishing good for another, a deliberate choice, not just a fleeting emotion. Think about how modern culture sells us love sparks, soulmates, happily ever afters. It's Disneyfied romance and it sets us up for disappointment. Why? Because it confuses infatuation with love. Real love isn't about finding someone who completes you. It's about two whole people choosing to grow together, even when the initial excitement fades. Take long-term couples who thrive. Research shows the happiest pairs focus on mutual growth, not just chemistry. They're teammates, not co-stars in a drama. One study followed couples for decades and found that those who viewed love as an action, showing up, compromising, supporting each other's goals, outlasted those waiting for the one to magically make them happy. Here's the Stoic twist: love is a verb. It's choosing patience when you're frustrated, kindness when you're tired, and honesty when it's hard. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be one." Apply that to dating. Instead of obsessing over, "Does this feel right?" Ask, "Am I acting in a way that genuinely benefits this person?" That's pragmatic love. Next up, we'll tackle a skill most of us overlook in dating, but the Stoics considered it essential: the art of listening, not just waiting to speak. Now let's explore something most of us struggle with in dating: truly listening. Principle 28, silence and listening, brings us back to Epictetus' golden rule. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. In modern dating, we're often so focused on crafting the perfect response or making a good impression that we forget the power of simply hearing the other person. Active listening isn't just nodding while waiting for your turn to talk. It's about fully engaging with what someone is saying, their words, their tone, even what they aren't saying. Think about how rare it feels when someone genuinely listens to you on a date. That's the kind of presence that builds real connection, not just surface-level charm. Here's a Stoic speed dating exercise to practice this. Next time you're on a date, focus entirely on understanding the other person. Ask open-ended questions, then resist the urge to steer the conversation back to yourself. Notice their body language, their pauses, the things that light them up. This isn't about performing, it's about observing and learning. The Stoics knew that listening is where wisdom begins. When you stop rehearsing your next line and start truly hearing someone, you cut through the noise of modern dating. You're no longer just another profile or small talk exchange. You become someone who values depth over distraction. Coming up, we'll confront one of the biggest traps in dating: snap judgments, and how Stoicism teaches us to see beyond first impressions. Now let's tackle one of the most common pitfalls in modern dating: snap judgments. Principle 29, non-judgment, challenges us to pause before labeling someone based on a first impression, a profile picture, or even a single awkward conversation. The Stoics believed every person has an inner logos, a rational core worth discovering beneath the surface. Think about how often we dismiss potential connections because they didn't match an instant checklist. Maybe their bio seemed bland or the first date lacked fireworks, but here's the truth: real connection rarely happens in a single moment. Take the story of Sarah, who almost cancelled a second date after a lukewarm coffee meetup. Her date was quiet, his jokes fell flat, and she left thinking, no spark. But something made her give it one more try. By the third meeting, she discovered his dry humor and the way he lit up discussing his volunteer work. A year later, she called that mere first date the best accident of her life. The Stoics teach us to question our automatic judgments instead of asking, "Do they impress me?" Try asking, "What's their character like?" when the performance fades. This shift helps you see people as works in progress just like you. Next up, we'll wrap things up with daily habits to keep these Stoic principles alive in your dating life, turning philosophy into action. Now let's bring all these Stoic principles together with something practical you can start today. Principle 30, Daily Stoic Dating Habits, is about turning philosophy into small, actionable steps that build resilience and clarity over time. Think of it like brushing your teeth for your dating mind. Set consistent, simple, and transformative when done daily. Begin each morning with a quick affirmation: "I only control my actions, not the outcomes." This sets the tone for the day, reminding you to focus on effort over anxiety. Then, in the evening, take just 5 minutes to reflect. Ask yourself, did I act with integrity today? Where did I let external validation sway me? This isn't about self-judgment, it's about awareness. To make it even easier, we've created a 30-day challenge with bite-sized Stoic tasks. One day, you might delete your dating apps for 24 hours to practice self-sufficiency. Another day, you'll journal about a past rejection to reframe it as growth. These aren't drastic changes, but they compound over time, rewiring how you approach dating. The key here is consistency, not perfection. Even Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations daily, not because he had it all figured out, but because he knew wisdom comes from repetition. So whether you're swiping, going on dates, or taking a break, these micro-practices keep you grounded in what truly matters: your character. And with that, we've covered all 30 principles. But remember, Stoicism isn't about memorizing quotes, it's about living them. So pick one habit to start with and let the philosophy do the rest. Now, let's take a step back and see how far we've come. These 30 Stoic principles aren't just about surviving modern dating, they're about thriving in it, by shifting your focus from external chaos to inner strength. Whether it's embracing rejection as growth, practicing gratitude for small wins, or detaching from outcomes, each principle simplifies dating by anchoring you in what truly matters: your character. Think about it. How much time have you wasted overanalyzing texts, agonizing over matches, or trying to decode someone's mixed signals? Stoicism cuts through that noise. It reminds you that the only thing you can control is how you show up, with integrity, resilience, and clarity. The rest, let it go. Here's your challenge this week. Pick one principle that resonates most and put it into action. Maybe it's journaling after dates to reflect on your alignment with values, or practicing negative visualization to appreciate connections without dependency. Small steps lead to big shifts. And as you move forward, ask yourself this: what kind of dater do you want to be? Someone tossed by every swipe and ghost, or someone grounded, intentional, and unshaken by the storms of modern dating? Be the Stoic dater you'd want to meet, the kind who knows their worth, acts with virtue, and never confuses someone's inability to love them with their own inability to be loved. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more wisdom to navigate life's challenges with clarity. Drop a comment below telling us which principle you're trying this week. We'd love to hear your journey. And remember, the best relationships start with the one you have with yourself. See you in the next video.